everybody. We're back, and back at the end of the alphabet, so to speak, as we finish off the alphabet of groups, names that begin with the letter, and we're up to U through Z. This one was a little different because of the kind of scarcity of groups in the Z's and the what was the other X. So we kind of mixed it up a little, so it's a little different format than before, but the format may have been different, but the music remains the same, and which is fantastic. And I I did enjoy it, although I will point out that there are about this was one of those playlists where you hardly know any of the songs. Sure, I know the Yes song and I know the UFO song, but there are songs here that I've never heard in my life, groups that I've never heard in my life. So it's a little different take, and I think sometimes it's a little different to initially digest everything that you're hearing. But overall, I thought it really worked well, and some songs really worked well. So, what did you guys think initially, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, like I echo what you say about it's a little trickier to for some of the letters to get groups. Like I was surprised the last one we did so well with Q, but X, Y, and Z we kind of had to do a little fiddling there with the songs. And the other thing is it's kind of hard to maybe get the sound or flow, top theme or whatever to match up as much when you only have certain bands you can pick. But that said, I like it.
Yeah, I think we did real good with the whole alphabet thing. I really enjoyed it, and but I kind of think we saved the best for last. Even though we don't know, didn't know some of the groups or some of the songs, I think we knew the most of the groups. Again, I think it went real well. I like the flow. We'll talk a little bit more about it in a few minutes, but top to bottom, I think this one stacked up as one of the better ones for me. And Yeah, it was fun doing it. I'm almost going to miss doing the alphabet thing. We'll have to maybe go back and start it again with artists, not just with the bands that we stuck with, just with that. But yeah, let's get to it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed, like I said. Okay, so we started with you. I started the playlist with "Stealing" by Uriah Heep. This is a group that obviously was around in the '70s and '80s, and I've actually seen them at the Texas Jam one year, but I couldn't tell you a thing that happened there. But I went with "Stealing," and it was one of those songs, and this is one of those groups that and I think Dave will agree with me. It's kind of like in that Molly Hatchet, Blackfoot kind of genre where it's moving from the '70s into the late '70s, where it's kind of this rock and roll, hard, not heavy metal, but hard rock with a tinge of kind of Americana into it. And this song's about, outlaw on the run. So it's kind of different, but it's enjoyable, and how it builds up to, its climax and then comes back down. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. I I'm not sure that I'd heard this song. In fact, when I was thinking about them later, the only one I can think of that I've heard, and I've heard it a lot, is "Easy Living." They got played on the radio quite a bit. They almost sound, and yeah, I guess you kind of were saying this. Are they a Southern band? They almost kind of have that sound to them. But
Right.
anyway, yeah, no, it's a good song. The only other thing I know, there's like some unplanned connections between. Are they an English band? Actually, maybe they're English. Anyway, whatever.
Thought they
They
but yeah.
I know some of the members were English. And as I was looking at this, there's some interesting connections between songs on this playlist that maybe we didn't realize. Like one of the members of the group, not on this record, but John Wetton, who was also in King Crimson and Asia and stuff. And there's a song that I put on coming up that he's on too. So just thought I'd point that out.
No, let me just point out, you are right. English band formed in '69. So even though they sound Americana, they're English group. Interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have made that connection either. For me, Uriah Heep is kind of that. By the time we started listening to some of them, was in the early to mid '80s, and at that point, they were a throw-in band or an opening act for some of the other bands that we had. But I'm sure they had their heyday where they were in the early '70s and mid '70s where they were more of the featured band. But by the time we started seeing them, they were just like, oh yeah, Uriah Heep's opening for, and they opened up for all kinds. I went back and did a little research, and they were like, they opened for Def Leppard in San Antonio. They opened for several bands in a row, Sammy Hagar, those kind of bands. And then I was trying to remember where I saw them because I thought I'd seen them a couple of times, and I could not find where they were the opening act for some band in San Antonio. But they were on the bill and the lineup when Jose and I went to the Texas Jam in 1983 in the summer when it was Triumph, Ted Nugent, Styx, Sammy Hagar, and Uriah Heep was in that lineup. So we got to see him. We saw him there, but I'm sure I saw him somewhere else in San Antonio, but I couldn't pinpoint who they opened up for at the time. But I like this song. It was started kind of slow, and then it kind of built into just that classic rock, classic kind of sound and song, and good way to kick off the playlist. We could probably keep going with the full, rock, 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 but it kind of faded out after the first couple of songs. So we had that song, and then I was next, and so I put on UFO, Lights Out in London. I don't know a lot of UFO songs either, but I know there are 3 or 4 of them, and this is one that was always one of my favorites. I remember seeing UFO. I think they opened up. I think they were an opening act for one of the bands I saw early on, but um, um, might have been even Triumph the first time I saw Triumph or something. But anyway, went with that song. So we had rock song, kind of to start the playlist. And again, you don't have a lot of choices when you get to you, but nobody chose U2 either. So that didn't make the list. But anyway, yeah, I thought the first couple songs went well together.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm a big UFO. I'm sure I've played that Strangers of the Night album for Dave numerous times with Lights Out, with that whole, and I own at least 3 or 4 box sets of UFO. I had a friend who sent me because they did a box set of Lights Out, and there was like 8 of their performances. So I got all of those. So it's one of those groups that I really enjoy. Michael Schenker obviously was the forefront early on in their career, and he's just a tremendous guitarist and actually a great writer of music and lyrics. And of course, so Lights Out is one of those songs that I still enjoy to this day. I love it. I think they're great. And so I'm glad you chose it. Good song.
Yeah, it is a good song. The lyrics are interesting. I was trying to, it almost sounds like a civil war or like, some kind of rebellion going on in the streets of London, but I don't know. But I I wasn't really a UFO guy back in the day. I heard of them. My friends all listened to them. I was probably more new wavy, port punky kind of stuff then. I mean, I did like, Sabbath and some things, but there's a big gulf between my friends and myself from the 80s music. So, however, that said, I like it. I thought it followed the other one really well. Uh, then I went to basically, okay, so you mentioned U2. I was definitely planning to put a U2 song on. I had a 2 or 3, depending on what was the song before. But I was like, I had also had the song by UK called "In the Dead of Night," and it just seemed to fit so well after that that I went with that instead. And this is the band I referenced it a minute ago. This is the band with John Wetton singing lead. It's kind of like I guess you'd call them a super group. They had Bill Bruford on drums and um,
Alan
somebody.
Holling, Alan
So what?
Hollingsworth on guitar,
Yeah,
if you know who
yes.
he is. Yeah, they had a lot. I was stunned by the lineup, but go ahead.
Well, and I'd forgotten about him, honestly. Back in the day, a friend of mine lent me, a few years after this came out, in the 80s. This was in, I think, the late 70s when this came out, or early 80s. But a friend of mine lent me the records. He's like, you got to listen to these guys. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. That reminded me of a little bit of King Crimson, in the lyrics here, and which makes sense because this was the next project, I think, after um, Robert Fripp basically for the time disbanded King Crimson, and two of the guys, John Wetton and Bill Bruford, were in that version of King Crimson. So, yeah. Anyway, there's not much more to say. I was trying to figure out what it's about. I think it's like basically how sometimes we toss and turn, and the things that bother us in the middle of the night, we're kind of plagued by them. So, I think.
Well, I didn't do my research, but you just laid out all the stuff that I didn't really realize. So it's going to make a lot of sense when I make my next statement. But uh, because I didn't know that was the lineup, and I'd never heard of the band UK. Really liked this song, and from this song, probably the next 10 songs. Just I love the whole flow of the next 10 songs or so. And but what I wrote down on this, with again not knowing the lineup, is I said with the keyboards and the stuff first. At first, I said it sounded like that 80s Pete Townsend thing, like da, 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 like the face dances and stuff like that, the Who kind of thing. And then I said, no, that with the keyboards and the bass and the drums, it kind of sounds like Yes, either the drama Yes, or even like the Hold On that we're going to get to later Yes. So without even knowing that was a lineup, it's amazing you mentioned that, because that's why it sounds like that. Because that's that sound with with many of the players that you just mentioned had to have similar kind of thing. Even the guitar sounded like the Trevor Rabin of Yes later on. So really liked this song. Got to get more into listening to that band. I guess they didn't have a lot of albums out then. It was just a kind of a few years there where they put that together then. Um, but anyway, yeah, from this song to you'll hear me say it probably like a broken record, but over the next 10 or 11 songs just really were in my wheelhouse, and I really loved them. And so thanks for putting this one on.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna definitely agree. When you start hearing this song, you're like, man, this is really good. Who's this? And then I decided, I better go check out. I better go do a little investigating. And once you're doing, like, oh, this all clicks. This all makes sense at this point. That okay, Bill Bruford, when you're like, oh, it all comes together. So yeah, and I love it. I love the synthesizer part towards the end where they really get into a groove there. I just thought, man, and all I was thinking of, how did we miss this back in the day? How did we not? But like you said, they only had two albums, and I guess they reunited in the 2010s or 2019 or something like that. But man, all I was thinking of, how did I miss this? How did I miss this group? But that's what happens, when you listen to music, and because this is right up our wheelhouse. This is the kind of songs that we were definitely listening to back in the day. So, man, and like Dave said, I'll probably start listening to the albums to see what else is on there. I wouldn't be surprised if we played them again for sure. So from there, I went a little more modern with Hope. Now, I will say, full disclosure, and I know y'all love to hear this, that the only reason I know about Vampire Weekend, other than I've heard the name, was Mike Gordon from Phish. He sat in with them. And so when one of your favorite musicians sits in with a newer band, you're like, okay, what are they listening to? What are they getting? So when I decided, oh, I'm going to use a V, I decided to go with Vampire Weekend. Obviously, there were other ones that I could have picked, but and then I found some of the songs I was like, it's good. But then I found this song, Hope, and I was like, man, this song is really, really good. And I like the message to it. Let it go. We live in turbulent, and so it works even in today. Where sometimes you just gotta let it go. There's things happening in this world. There's personal everything, but you gotta easier said than done, obviously most of the time. But it's a message to try to just let it go. And so it is a song like its namesake about hope.
Yeah, I'd heard of Vampire Weekend, and I remember a song. I saw the video a few times. I can't remember the name of it, but they're on a boat going down a river, I think. Anyway, it's this is completely different from that. I didn't really like that old song, so that other one so much, so I didn't really check into them. But this is a good song. It is a good message. It's a lot of bleakness, but then let it go. And as I was listening to it, I kept thinking it sounds familiar. Once I was reading the lyrics, it really reminds me of Leonard Cohen's style of writing on
Mm.
some of it, and so then I respect it even more.
All right, man, this is another, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I love this song. I think this is my favorite song on the whole playlist. And I didn't know, I think I'd heard of Vampire Weekend, but never really listened to any of their music. And again, this is another one of these finds. After we put this on there, after Jose put this on, I think I listened to like 10 or 12 of their other songs, and put them on the reel and just listened to them for a while. And I'm like, how did I not know this band? Now I know they had some success and whatnot, but the fact that for me, I'll just for me, any band that features a piano in their thing as one of their main instruments, then I'm all on board. And this song is it's a long song. I 7 minutes, something like whatever. It doesn't feel like it, but the just that the melodic part of the piano seems so simple, and it is. It's just a simple little ditty, but yet they put it to a song, and it's like it's awesome. So I'm a big fan now. Starting to look at their other stuff, and then I did some research. I mean, I think I remembered a little bit that they had that song "A Punk" and that they were in some the beginning of some movies or something like that. They had a couple of things like that, and I guess back in the day, it was like, oh, they played on David Letterman. Oh, they played on Saturday Night Live. They were, that kind of thing. But again, that was during a period where I wasn't listening to them or listening to a lot of music. And but man, again, after Mike's UK and then Jose puts on Vampire Weekend, I'm like, man, I'm loving this. This is great. This is a great playlist. I like these bands. This is great. Keep it coming. And then I get to my selection. I'm like at V, and I'm like, okay, what can I do here? And I thought about Van Halen. It could go. So we could have gone back to the rock thing, but thankfully I didn't. I looked at some other things, and I came across a Velvet Underground song, and I was just listening. Let me listen to a bunch of Velvet Underground, see if I can pick out a cool song of theirs. And I came across this Temptation Inside of Your Heart, and I thought, oh, that's a cool one. I like it. I'm going to go ahead and put it on. Then I did some research and found out that it was written in the late 60s, which it sounds like it, but it wasn't really put out until like their album in the mid 80s that they put out. So anyway, I thought it was a pretty cool song. Not it was a little different than the whole Hope and the Vampire Weekend, but I thought it broke it up pretty cool, and like Lou Reed, so thought it was pretty cool to put it on.
Now, I obviously enjoy it. Let me go back a little. In the Dead of Night and Hope, you can see the influences there, whether it's they directly or but there is influence from that kind of rock to that kind of rock. So anyway, and so I can understand why Dave sees that thread going through. Velvet Underground is just bad. You just never know what you can get with Velvet Underground. Sometimes I've got a box set, so I know it's not the easiest sometimes. But let's face it, some of their songs can be quite bleak or definitely different. But this song is just a little rocker, a little ditty. Electricity comes from other planets. They're just throwing out little things like that, like shut the door. That wasn't a good song, things like that kind of makes this song as well as it being a kind of interesting rocker. So yeah, I enjoy that selection for sure.
Yeah, they're having fun.
Yeah.
They kept the banter in there. I don't know if that was kind of pre-written or sounds like some of it's definitely spontaneous,
Shut the
but
door.
right. And they're laughing and laughing at each other. And it's the album it's off of. Well, it wasn't originally off the album. It was, I think, when they released it later. I think, like you're talking about, Dave, they added it, like bonus tracks. But the album it's off of, I'm gonna forget the name of it. Is it with Nico?
Right.
Velvet Underground with Nico,
Andy
and that's such an
Warhol.
iconic record. It's like there's maybe two of theirs that I really like. They only did three or four, but this is yeah, it's such a great record. Andy Warhol did the cover, the banana thing, but yeah, it's one I had never heard, and I like. And again, I like Velvet Underground can be really heavy or lots of drug references, and this is just nice that okay, let's do something that's not that, you know.
Right.
So I followed it. I decided to go heavy. I mean, really heavy. So the V's, yeah, I had thought of Velvet Underground, but when you got there, I'm like, okay. And then I remembered I have this Vanilla Fudge. There's a band Vanilla Fudge, and this song is "You Keep Me Hanging On." It's a cover of a Supreme song, but I had wanted to put this on something for ages, and it never seemed like the right spot. There was never, if it was a specific playlist, it never really fit. And if it was more open-ended, it didn't really fit the sound. But, it's very heavy. I can see it influencing some later bands that came along. I don't know if it's a grunge, but oh, what was the group? I'm going to blank out. I thought of them earlier. Had a cover of Wichita Lineman.
Oh,
Urge Overkill or
yeah.
Overkill, whatever. I could really, in some of their other stuff, not so much in that one, but some, you can kind of hear this kind of heavy thing, and whether it's a direct influence or not. But it seems like a longer song than it is. And there's a AM version, a single version that I didn't want to use because I like that psychedelic, distorted kind of intro. And just a couple of quick stories. One reason I really liked it is because it was in like the climactic scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Brad Pitt is listening to it when all hell breaks loose and on the radio. And then I when I first I didn't get it at first. It's like, why are they covering a Motown, a Supreme song? It's like this is years ago, and apparently they did some other stuff like that too. That was kind of their thing. But then I don't know. At some point, it clicked. I was out, and I had streaming like XM radio, and it was coming through my computer, and I'm working out in the garden in my backyard for a long time, and that song had come on. I'm working a long time, and I look up and it's still on. Like, man, this is a long song. And I go in and look, it had like the buffering thing where it got to this certain point in the song and it would just like start over somewhat, which it worked. But anyway, I don't know. It is heavy, but uh, there you go.
Yeah, I like this song. I think I remember it back in the day too, getting some airplay, but I think I hadn't heard it in like decades or something. So it was cool to bring it back. It almost would be, again, we're not going to change the order of the playlist. This playlist is the way it is, and it has to stay that way. Once you listen to it like 4 or 5 times, it's the placement of the songs is where it has to stay. But it could have gone right after Lights Out real well because it had that rock
Sure,
kind of thing.
sure.
It starts kind of slow, but I'm actually glad that it is where it is because it breaks things up a little bit and goes, oh yeah, we're back to a rock song. It kind of, again, starts out slow. I like that electric piano or whatever it is, a mellotron or whatever they're doing back in the late 60s, and it almost gets you a hint of what the song is going to be at the very beginning, towards the beginning, because you hear the chords played and you go, oh, that's Keep Me Hanging On. And then they get into actually getting into the song. So great choice. Love the song. Yeah, whether or not it would have been better after the third song or not, it is where it is on the playlist. And so good choice.
I'm gonna agree. It's that heavy. It reminds me a lot of a Cream, right? It has that Cream element to it. I'm not gonna compare them to Cream or anyway, but and that's when those bands were playing that kind of music, and I could even see Cream playing this song and getting away with it, minus the keyboards since they didn't have keyboards. And I have this on vinyl, so I know I have. And I'd only bought this album, probably at half price at some point way back in the day, only because Carmen Appice or Carmen Appice, depending on how you want to. He's the drummer, and of course we knew him from some of the heavy metal groups that played. And so like, I wonder what else he's done. And you go back, you're like, oh, he was on Vanilla Fudge, which of course is a great name unto itself, but. That's how I did it. And of course, this song is one of those songs that, yeah, you listen to it has that Cream element. And I often think, is that Cream? And I'm like, no, that's not who Cream is. That's a totally different song, but just a fantastic song. And yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, for sure. That's just a wild scene. So from there, of course, I didn't go. We're into the W's, and I didn't go as heavy. Although I guess I could have been. Widespread Panic is what I picked. Eight Life Grand, and they have their own set of songs, different songs, but they are that Southern jam band. They're not Allman Brothers jam band, but I always call them, because they're from Atlanta. But I always call them Allman Brothers that can be on steroids sometimes, because they can really jam. They'll give you 15-minute jams like most jam bands. But I thought this song would kind of fit in well, and I really love the song and the piano playing, the interplay with the group. And I hope to see them in Austin. They come 14th and 15th. Believe me, I'm not going to have a Valentine's date, so it's perfect for me. So, but I'll probably go see them. I haven't seen them, and my friend Alan, who's really my jam band mentor, he's seen them, hundreds of times, and there's always championed their cause and has given me videos of them. So I'm seeing videos of them. But yeah, I thought I'd throw it in there and give them a little respect, and because there's plenty of W's to pick from, obviously. And but I went with the jam band. So
Yeah, this is definitely, I like a lot of these songs, but ones that I didn't know particularly. I'll just say this is my favorite song on here. I remember you put one other on previously. I forget what it was.
yeah, climbing the ladder or something like that.
All right. But and this wasn't what I was expecting, because I knew the whole jam band thing, but I don't know what this reminds me of, but it's such a good sound. And I think it's interesting. The lyrics, they're sparse, but they really say a lot. It's like when you have a haiku. I'm not saying that's what this is, but it's like there's only so many words, but when you think about it, those words mean a whole lot. And like watching people roll. No, that's not it. Driving to the grocery store, pull my money out, passing by the liquor store, throw my money down. I mean, there's a whole story in there, and there's others. His wife's got the blues, and another one, he feels like a kid. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it, but I thought it was a great song. Am I next? No.
Agree. It was really good. Can't really argue that. No, I can't get to the number of words for a haiku to express it. But,
575.
it was right up there too on one of my favorites on the playlist. I like how it starts, kind of cool jam, kind of slow, and then it picks up into kind of almost really a hard rock sound there in the middle towards the end. Which would have again gone well with which goes well with "Keep Me Hanging On" and that kind of thing. This song and really the next 4 or 5 songs are all just gems in themselves. And I guess right here. So Jose, you see, I found this little thing. It said they were Red Rocks. End of June. You could have came a few days earlier, and we could have gone there and see them before we went to see Fish.
You want to go to full disclosure, I probably thought about it, but I couldn't get Sal here in time. Plus, Fish was in 25th, 26th. So,
well, I think, didn't you say they were more of a Colorado-based band too, or they've done a lot in Colorado?
They do a lot of Colorado. Colorado is just the jam band area, as much as Texas isn't. Colorado, because of Red Rocks and because of Denver, it's the scene. Well, Trey just played their last 2 shows there, so yeah, they're a better scene than we are down here.
Well, again, this was a great selection, and it kicked off again the next about 5 or 6 songs that they're all just seemed not the same or similar, but they were because they're different. But we went from that then to I had my next selection was a W, and again could have gone. Let's just go do a Who song, a classic Who song, and put more rock into it. But no, we as we've been doing on these playlists, I did a little experimenting and looking around, and I hit on the Wallflowers, which I had never really been into, or maybe I heard a couple of songs. And so I listened to 5 or 6 songs and I went, oh, I like this one, Love is a Country by the Wallflowers. And again, put that on. I didn't even really remember that they're fronted by Jacob Dylan, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Bob Dylan's son. And so I didn't even register with me until after we made the playlist. Um, but again, I thought it was a pretty cool song, and it kind of went good. Like again, the next 5 or 6 songs all kind of flow together really well. Um, in some cases, I don't know how that I have a lot to say about each of the songs, other than just like, oh, that's a great song, you know. So I actually had to go back and make some notes and things about each of the song, things I liked about it. But anyway, yeah, Wallflowers, Love is a Country.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to sound like a dick, and believe me, Dave, maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought you were the one that bought their CD or while we were, because I remember you playing this, and that's why I was not surprised when you put the Wallflowers on, because I thought you were the one. Maybe it wasn't you, but
Not
I
me.
thought for sure that you had this. Maybe it was Mike or someone, but I thought it was you, Dave, because I remember you saying, "Oh, let's get the Wallflowers," and then we had the CD for a while. So maybe maybe it was someone completely different. Regardless, uh, why they didn't become a bigger band is they had their moment, of course, but they have some great songs, and this is one of those went right well with Ain't Life Grand, and I thought, man, this is a great song. And what's the lyric that that they use about love? Love is better.
Crossing the country when you're young or
Love is
something.
the love is the country better crossed when you're young. Nice little lyric there. So yeah, I don't know why I thought it was you. I thought for sure you were the one that introduced me to, because I remember being kind of anti Wallflowers, and then you were like, but I could be misremembering that. It could have been someone completely different. So anyway,
The Wallflowers. I I remember back in the time being really interested because here's Dylan's kid, on the thing, and then I heard him a lot on the radio, and I never did buy one of their records, which is odd because it's exactly the kind of stuff I loved at the time, and I love it now. But it's I don't, are they still together?
I don't think so.
Well, I think he was, from what I read, he was like the kind of the linchpin. Other band members came and went, but I may be wrong on that. Anyway, and I don't know if you guys will agree with me or not, but something about this song, not necessarily the lyrics, but maybe the phrasing, everything. It really, I could hear Bruce Springsteen singing this song. So,
Good point.
it really it sounded like him. Didn't sound like Bob Dylan really, but. Yeah, it's a good song. I like the metaphor, love as a country, and he's definitely it's a breakup song or post breakup song. But from there, I went to okay. So that let's see. Am I thinking? No. Okay, so W again. Also, I thought of the Who, and I had one picked out that I wanted to do. But then I remember the Waterboys. This album, we talked about this album before because Jose put a song, Fisherman Blues, on. That's the name of the record. This song is World Party. And it got some airplay. I bought this record in '89, I think. And it's funny because the next record on here I also bought in '89. And that was the year that I went to the Soviet Union for a couple of weeks as a student exchange. And so both these records kind of in my mind are linked. I think I may have even taken cassette copies that I gave to somebody over there. A little trying to culturally influence the Soviet citizens, but I like it. I've always liked this song. It's one of the guys in this band Kurt Wallinger, if I'm pronouncing that right. He went on to form the band World Party, and he left just shortly before this time period. It was just a clash of egos with the Tom Scott, who's the singer of this band, and so apparently he named World Party after the song, or it influenced him. That's where he came up with the name of the band.
No, it's an interesting, this is the one song that I didn't expect that this was what it was going to sound like. And so I was pleasantly surprised the way it sounded. I was like, oh, I could really get into this. And so I enjoyed it a lot. Like you said, I put one on before, but those are just mainly fishing expeditions that you do. Like, oh, well, I have to find something. Well, it was the Irish one, right? So, that was my choice. So then that's what you think when you put this one on, like, oh, this could be an Irish ditty. And it really isn't, but it's really a lot about having fun in life, which I love to hear as much as anything else, So I thought it was a great choice. Was I next? I wasn't next.
That's all right. You jumped me, but that's all right.
Yeah,
Are you
my
done?
bad.
I do it. I do it all the time.
But
Go ahead, Dave.
and again, both of you now have played the Water Boys, so I guess it's my turn to find a song to put on because I like them. I said this before when you put it on the other playlist that it sounded like Dylan, and to me it just does. Every time I hear them, it sounds like Dylan. So to put this song on after the Wallflowers, after Jakob Dylan, I don't know if we were subconsciously thinking that or not, but it went really well. That's why I love this song a lot, and I like it right after the Wallflower song. So yeah, definitely, I'm gonna have to look at being come to the party and put on some Water Boys myself.
Party, 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 party.
That's right.
Okay, I apologize. We went to the X, and of course, there ain't many X out there. So we kind of limited, we kind of made a compromise amongst ourselves that X, we all knew we could do a Y, and then me and Mike got to choose two X songs. We all chose a Y song, and then Z, y'all two, I've been lived in Texas way too long, got to choose the Z song at the end because there ain't that many Z's. So anyway, got lucky and got to pick XTC, and let's just say it's a tribute to Mike. I mean, Mike has introduced us to a lot of this kind of this music. I picked King for a Day, which I think is just really one of the best songs on here. I don't want to pat my own stuff on the back, but I love the song. I'll say this, and I bend Mike's ear on this. He's just opened that realm that I have just left back then in the day, the English pop music, pop post-punk pop music, whatever you want to call it. For some reason I have, but now that I get XTC, Elvis Costello, all these other groups that are like that, it's just opened a whole new world to me, and XTC is one of those. And I thanks Mike for opening that door because it's these playlists that really opens the door to a lot of these worlds. And believe we wouldn't have had it, probably I would have gone the rest of my life. Oh, there's Elvis Costello. Okay, Elvis Costello. Oh, XTC, but not like I do now. Not I actively look for these albums. I buy them. So yeah, and this song is one of those songs.
Yeah, I'm gonna sound it's the same kind of thing. You guys have both played the Water Boys. Now you guys have both did XTC, so it's gonna have to be my turn. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, we like the Wrapped in Gray and some of the other XTC songs. No Thugs in Our House. Wasn't the other one? Yeah,
Yeah.
just off.
No Man, I think I put on the winter.
But just off the top of my head, the fact that I can name two XTC songs
Right.
because you put them on the playlist is a tribute to that. Because sometimes we'll put a song on, and I can't remember the name or whatever, but the fact that I remember a couple of these memorable ones that you put on, is good. Now, here's the only negative I'm going to say about it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. When I first started hearing this song, and I've played this playlist several times, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Tears for Fears.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Everybody wants to rule the world kind of thing, kind of vibe. Now, again, it's a great song, so whatever. But that's kind of the vibe I got when I first started hearing this song. But cool song, and yeah, that's all I can say.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Dave.
It sounds like that.
It does. It does.
And I remember that when I bought the record. There's a ton of songs on here. I may have even put one on one of the last playlists we did because this was basically around the time period we were kind of starting to go our own directions, moving and finishing school and stuff. Um, and this is all the other songs are Andy Partridge singing not all the other songs that we've had. This is Colin Moulding,
Mm.
he's kind of, I don't know, compared to George Harrison, but he gets a smaller share of the songs. They're broken up, but and I remember at the time thinking the same thing. I can hear it in my head right now, the beginning of and I think that kind of was a turnoff for me initially because I was never a huge Tears for Fears fan. They had one or two songs I really like, but it's over once I got into this record, it's like, oh yeah. And I like I like Colin's songs. There's some others that'll probably make it on the playlist depending. And one other thing I'll just add is, well, okay, so because we're now doing the XYZ and we kind of switch up the order. So you got skipped on this one, Dave, but you get
All
you
right.
come up next in the order. But this, let's see. Yeah, my song was next. It's X, The New World. So we had King for a Day and World Party. For me, those all really kind of fit a similar theme. It's like a World Party. It's like a talking about you're taking your ship off the edge of the world or whatever. Uh, this one is everybody's uh, going after the money, and then uh, the New World. They talk a little bit about it's it's the oh are the words? It's like the let's see. It was better before we voted for what's his name, and this is written several years ago about a different president or whatever. But it's funny hearing that with these others, and of course they're also kind of saying people are wanting all these things, they're getting all these things, and they're just griping about generally about a politician. I'm not saying that they're saying that's a bad thing, but it's like people kind of say the same thing, every election. And there's a reason for it. Politicians tend to not necessarily serve in our best interests. But yeah, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Jose and I were supposed to go see a show. Los Lobos were the headliners and X opened for them. And they canceled that big chunk of the tour. They played one or two shows, I think like in LA at the end or something. And it was a shame because I'd only seen him once before. Jose and I went to a benefit thing or fundraiser thing, something like that. And some of the guys at Los Lobos played in it. And then John Doe, who's the main singer on this song and guitarist of the band, writes a lot of the stuff. He comes walking through the crowd. And I look over, I'm not even thinking about it. I look over, and this guy's standing there next to me with a guitar case. And I'm like, oh, that's him. That's that guy. So I got a selfie with him. But I like these guys. You got to be into they were kind of a LA punk band, and they did some other stuff. This album, I think, was the last one that Ray Manzarek had a role in producing. I don't know if he produced this song. Um, yeah, that was my ex. I thought of XTC, but I put so much on. I'm glad you did it instead, Jose.
You never get enough of XTC. That's for sure. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Like you said, I wish I would have got to see them in concert because they seem like a really interesting band to be able to. I really like the lyrics, and they talk. It's a little ripped, I think, off of "Dancing in the Streets" when don't forget the Motor City, Baltimore and DC. Now all we need is don't forget the Motor City. That's what the new was supposed to be the new world, which I think is about bailing out Gara. It's supposed to save him. So anyway, get political. But a lot of clever lyrics, yeah. And I wish I would have gotten to see them live just to get more attuned to where they were coming from and stuff like that. So now I kind of hate them because I didn't get to see them and I shouldn't do that. Like you guys, why did you all bail? For whatever reason. So anyway, just one of those things.
Like I said before, the last 5 or 6 songs, Ain't Life Grand, Love is a Country, World Party, King for a Day, The New World, they all kind of just had a similar kind of theme to them and vibe. I like this song. Um, I like, I like the lyrics. It probably could have gone even like on a road trip, playlist as well, because they mention, Flint, Ford, Otto, Motor City, Mobile, Alabama, Buffalo, New York, Gary, Indiana. I mean, they mention a lot of cities, in it as well. And again, good choice. I had never heard of X, and so, but this was a good song, and again, it went real well with the playlist and where we're at. Then we came up on the Wise, and really my first inclination at this point was I was going to pick something off of Drama, Yes Drama, um, because again it has that same kind of a vibe with a lot of the songs that are on there. But I went a little bit, again, that was 1980-ish or so, and then I said no, I'm going to go back to my high school days of Yes with 90125. I always get that confused with the other one, but 90125. And there's so many great songs on this album. I think it's one of those albums. I think Micah said this too. Wore out the needle, back in the day. And so I could have picked a number of different songs, and because they get that syncopation going a lot and the different kind of cool kind of things. And so I picked "Hold On," which was one of my favorite ones on this one. And again, I foreshadowed a little bit earlier in the playlist about how, it sounds a little bit like, Trevor Rabin's guitar and that kind of thing. And he was the guitarist on this, not Steve Howe. But again, one of my favorite. Again, there's a lot of songs on that album I could have picked, but settled on this one.
Yeah, like you were saying, I did. I wore this record out. I bought it. Owner of a Lonely Heart. I really got tired of hearing on the MTV years. It's not a bad song, but the whole record I did. I just listened to it in one piece, like over and over and over again. And then it's funny. It's like my musical interest went a different way, and I probably hadn't heard this record a couple of decades. But I was like, I know it must have been driving my parents mad. I'm still living at home. They were still in high school when this came out, and I had to play it over and over again. But it's a great one. I got to see him. The only time I've seen Yes on tour was on this tour, and it was a really good show. Great choice.
Yeah, I always call this reversion back, like they're back. Yeah, we cover sports. I know I cover sports. But it's the coach goes to and the team's doing poorly, and they go, "We got to get back to basics. We got to get back to what we know best." And I think this was that kind of album. It kind of married what they were kind of doing, because you had those other albums that you're like, "Oh, it's too John Anderson-y, it's too Bowery," and then you had, obviously you had Drama, and then you had the other ones, and then so this one they kind of realized, hey, let's do what we do best. And this song especially has all those elements, has the great guitar work, the bass, and then of course has that vocal portion, which every Yes fan loves to hear, and so I thought this was one of those that, yeah, they went back to bed, and it was a smash. I mean, let's face it, we all loved Owner and Lonely Heart until you've heard it 1,000 times. But of course, us being us, we listened to the whole album. We're not into the singles, and there was, like you said, there was so many great AMI. That was even on there, the other one, but it was just
Leave
a
it,
fantastic. What's that?
Leave it.
leave it.
Leave it. Yeah. So a lot of great song. I'm glad you put that on there. It's like you said, Dave. When we hear it again, because this is one of the few songs I did know. You hear it again, and you're like, that feels so good. Especially when they get to that vocal part. Just love it so much. From there, I went to a little different. This was a group, Yo La Tengo. It's one of those kind of heavy-ish, newer groups. But I found this song in between all of them called "The Summer," which I thought kind of fit well. It's kind of the end of the summer for us. It was kind of, although way past then. But just a fantastic little song that it's not really their sound per se, although they do have a good sound. A little hard, heavy. It was one of those groups that I always wanted to see, and actually, I think one of my nephews actually put some of their music on as a mixtape for me, so to speak, on a CD. So I enjoyed their music, and I thought they were always pretty good. So I thought, hey, let's put this on and see if it flies, and I thought it fit in pretty well.
I've never heard of them. I guess it's Yo Lo Tango, which in Spanish means what?
Yo la tengo, I've got it.
I've got it.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you just do YOLO, that's you only live once, right?
Right. So better be careful.
Right.
That came in too.
Again, not familiar with it. It was a cool song. I like the bass part at the beginning, and then the guitars, how they weave into that. So yeah, it's a good choice. I don't have a lot to say about other one other than it was bringing us down from those last five, those last six songs. It was kind of like setting the tone for the ending of the playlist, the last three or whatever, and kind of making a little bit of a transition or break to the end. So it was good.
Yeah, I remember them being played here. I couldn't tell you the names of their songs. The From what I read about them, they were even more popular with critics, maybe than generally people out there. So they're well respected. And listening to this, I was struck at some place that the singer reminds me a little bit of Lou Reed. I'd have to listen to the song again to tell you where, but there's now I don't know if you guys okay, so their name comes from a baseball thing. Do you know about this?
Hmm. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, you do know, Jose?
Yeah. When you're out in the field, instead of I've got it, I got it. When you're calling for a fly ball, I got it, I
Oh,
got it. Spanish guys say yo la tengo, and of course, when they got integrated into the states, sometimes, and this is just a little more, American guys didn't know what yo la tengo meant, but it's I've got it, I got it.
Well, and I didn't know this, so I looked in Wikipedia. I'm not going to read this verbatim, but it was let's see, 1962, the Mets center fielder Richie Ashburn. He was going for he was trying to catch a ball, and he's yelling, I got it," but the guy next to him was Venezuelan, had no idea what he's
who
saying.
was the guy next to him?
Let's see, Elio Chacon.
Elio
Elio,
Chacon, yeah, he
Elio
plays for
Chacon.
the Reds.
And so they collided in the outfield. And so after that, they had a meeting in the, back in the locker room where it was said he should say "Yo la tengo." Um, so, but then another game, he's playing a different guys out there next to him, and he's yelling the Spanish, and the guy had no idea what he's only spoke English, and so they collide because he's like, I have no idea what this guy was saying. He's not saying I got it. So I thought it was interesting story.
Do you think the center fielder for the Dodgers was yelling that to Kiko Hernandez when he?
His.
Uh,
I'm sure he was.
they probably, but they both probably knew what that meant. So
Right, and believe me. But yeah,
that's interesting. That's
I,
interesting.
I I'd heard that, and some say that whether that's true or not, who knows? But it's true that it probably happened, but whether they got the name from it. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, so I went from that to all right, so we're go to Z. We have two Z's left. And so I was like, you're really limited with the Z's. I'm not going to put zebra on. So there's no way I'm going to do that. So so I picked ZZ Top, which seems like a probably the first name that people might think of when they think of Z, or one of the first. And so I've listened to their music for a long time. I don't like 80s on really, just the where they really went mainstream, but the earlier stuff, this is off the third album. It but so I was going to do something more obscure, as I often do. And this is one of the rare instances I did, and I probably did one of the most well-known songs, Lagrange, which is it really borrows from old school bluesmen, that how part. And if you don't know what it's about, I'll keep this real brief. It's about what was called the Chicken Ranch. It was a place of prostitution in the town of Lagrange, which is actually not very far from here. And it had been there for decades and decades. It came and went, but it was also the same place as the influence for the best little whorehouse in Texas. Um, and they finally got shut down in 73 thanks to a news reporter. But they were kept open for so long because politicians like to go there. As long as they kind of kept things quiet, law enforcement, all these guys would go there and partake of the service they offered. But so anyway, it's gone now. They I one time when I was reading about it on actually the Wikipedia page, and I saw they had the coordinates of where the building used to be. So when I passed through that area one time, I went over, and you can just kind of see some. It's on private property, and it's all kind of overgrown, but you can kind of see a little bit of the stuff left there. But most of the building, they moved to Dallas and turned it into a restaurant. And the last. Madam, I guess. She became a hostess at that restaurant for a while. It wasn't open very long, but the last thing I'll say about this, I, we went there one time, and the only reason I remember that is my mom told me the story while we're in there, and we probably met that hostess coming in or whatever. I remember it being kind of Southern food, but anyway, it's a great song. It's very frequently played on the radio to this day. But it sure captures that ZZ Top bluesy kind of thing.
Oh yeah, it's a Texas staple. If you live anywhere in Texas and hadn't heard that song, weren't listening to FM radio because that was just one of those things. Even before, yeah, I can't believe you didn't pick Sharp Dressed Man. Come on, just kidding. That song's horrible.
That's that 80s period I'm talking
Right.
about.
It's horrible legs. Anyway, I should tell a story where we went to that bar once that was just, and the guy kept playing all these 80s ZZ Top songs. Like, oh dear God, man, stop. Play some anyway. Great Broadway performance, horrible movie with Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton. If you ever get a chance to see that monstrosity, but it's a great Broadway play, and yeah, it became famous for that. And yeah, it's a great song. Again, I'll go back. Fish used to cover it all the time back in the day, so one of those songs that was just a staple in America, and just a fun song to listen to, a fun song to hear.
Well, Jose mentioned that you couldn't escape it listening in South Texas growing up. For whatever reason, though, um, I just never got into ZZ Top. I don't know what it was, and I like the Southern rock thing. I like a lot of the bands with Leonard Skinner and Molly Hatchet, and all of those kind of things. But for some reason, ZZ Top never drew me in on it. And I listened to them passively. Songs on the radio. Never bought their albums or anything. But this is again one of their most recognizable songs. I know they have some other ones with some other raunchy lyrics. What's the one about the tube steak boogie or something,
Pearl Necklace.
or the I know a girl, she lives on the hill. She won't do it, but her sister will, or something.
Tube Steak Boogie, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, but again, I think both Billy Gibbons and Dusty Hill, are they both now passed away, or
No, just one of them, right?
just one of them?
Yeah,
Yeah, the drummer, I forget
yeah,
which
Beard.
one.
Isn't his name Beard because he didn't have one? And they're about to go on tour. I saw that they were going to have to go on tour, but
Okay.
yeah.
So anyway, not one of my favorite bands, but again, it kind of brought the playlist. I like how we brought the playlist back to. We started out with the kind of the old rock kind of stuff, and then we did all the stuff in between there. It was really cool. And then we went, how are we going to end this thing? And we went, let's go back to a rock. So it would fit perfectly with Uriah Heep and UFO at the top end, and had the ZZ Top at the end. So it bookended it really nice. And then from there, we had, again, there are not a lot of choices on the Z's. So that's why we kind of flip flopped a little bit and said, let's just do 2, 2, and 2. And then so I had an opportunity to put on a song by an old band, the Zombies. And I think they have 2 or 3 hit songs over the years, or whatever, but going way back to the 60s for the Zombies. So I put on that classic one, She's Not There, which again kind of almost fits in with the Velvet Underground stuff and that kind of thing. And don't know a lot about the Zombies other than when I looked at who wrote this song, it says Rod Argent. And I started thinking, was that the one? So is that the guy, the band Argent? Hold
Yeah.
your head up.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
One Hit Wonder or whatever. So anyway, I learned something new just by reading through the lyrics and realizing that Rod Argent was in this band, the Zombies. So anyway, that's how we ended it.
My next,
Yeah, go ahead,
I
Mike.
guess you,
Uh,
yeah, and this song it was very frequently played on the classic rock, and it's a great song. And then of course Santana kind of made it their own. They did a version, but I apologize, guys. I'm realizing like so many of these songs, I'm talking more about it. I'm telling anecdotes rather than talking about the music. But I have one more little short story, very short. I went to I played Richard Thompson stuff before. And so they were having, I think it was during South by Southwest, at this old Waterloo Ice House restaurant. It was actually next door to the old Waterloo Records on Lamar and 6th Street or 7th, whichever. Anyway, he was on the bill to play a free show during the day. And so I'm like, oh, I got to go. So we came down just so I could go to that show. And I get there early, get a little something to eat, and I'm waiting. And it's like when he's supposed to come on, he doesn't come on. Instead, the Zombies come on.
oh
And then I
wow.
realized I had the days wrong. I'd mixed up the days. It was on a Friday, which I wouldn't have been able to take off work anyway. But it was fun. I was like, oh yeah, I know these songs. And that's why I didn't know about Rod Argent either. But he was there with them, and they played "Hold Your Head Up." And I'm like, oh, okay, that's where he came from. I just thought he was like, I don't know. Some of these guys just like pop out of nowhere. They have a hit, and they act like they've been around forever. But no, he came from that. It's a great song.
Yeah. Before I get to my antidote and anecdote, not antidote, I'm not dying. It is Dusty. Dusty Hill was the one who died in ZZ Top, and Frank Beard and the other guy Gibbons are still around. Anyway, my anecdote on it is, and Mike will be there because he was there when we went to go see that Go Ahead band with Brett Midland and Bill Kreutzmann. They sang this song, and it was actually probably the best song they played that night. It was kind of rocking, and I remember for some reason I distinctly remember that song being really good. And I think it might have been their encore or as close to the end. But that's I always remember that song. And of course, yes, Santana obviously made it more famous than famous. And I've heard that song the most. So it's a great song. It's a classic. I think a lot of groups can play it at any moment, and you can get a response. And so that was one of the reasons. I think that Go Ahead Band plays, the Zombies played, Santana played it. So yeah, but overall, I thought, it's like they said, I think all of us had a different experience with each of the letters. And we all have our different favorite playlists from the A's to Z's, which is kind of interesting. But more importantly, I think as we learned a lot about it, a lot of new music, which really opened it up. And I think this was a good idea to be exposed to new music. So, what were your overall impressions, Dave?
Yeah, I agree. It really got us a little bit out of our comfort zone and allowed us to explore some different bands that we wouldn't normally put on. And it was kind of a good little break or departure from some of the other playlists that we had put together. So it was a good idea to do it. A little bit sad that we're done with it. We'll have to. I think we're going to move on to maybe focusing on an artist with our next one, and then get back to some other playlists. We have, in memoriam probably coming up because of those who passed away. We've got Christmas coming up, Thanksgiving, other things like that. So this was kind of a good excursion down that path. And like I said, it's all about being exposed to I wouldn't say necessarily new music in the sense that like, oh, we got to play everything that's in 2023 and 24 and 25 and do that, but it new to us. And I don't remember who said, I heard something where somebody said that's the beauty of music, because it doesn't matter if it was a song from 1950, 57 or 2015. If it's the first time that you heard it, it's new to you. It's a new song, and that's the beauty of it. It transcends time.
Yeah, I really think in retrospect, all worked out great. I think it um, maybe in a way for the same reason I was skeptical at the beginning. Well, one thing I was like, oh boy, this is like a lot of stuff on one theme. Um, but it's the alphabet, right? And there's I was also worried that it's like, boy, we're really going to be limited. It's like, some letters, there's only a couple of bands, and but just like you guys said, I believe it like it pushes you to find something different. ZZ Top notwithstanding, but generally, I think most of the stuff I picked was either something I didn't know or a band that I hadn't listened to that much. I got to finally put a Fish song on. And so, yeah, I thought in the end, I think it was a great idea. And it didn't seem, we broke it up into um, uh, bite-sized chunks, I guess. So it worked out great. It did not seem like too long of a thing.
Okay, yeah, I agree with all y'all's sentiments. I think I don't say we're on a roll, but it's just what number is this? I don't think I even mentioned like 57. I think we're at
59.
59. So
Yeah.
there you go. Just, every time I think, oh, we're gonna run out, this only reinforces that there's just so much more music out there to enjoy and listen. And so I'm glad we're continuing it. Like Dave said, probably go to an artist. We won't give it away just yet, and then our usual themes. But just a great time, man. I'm glad we did it. So, yep. Goodbye, everybody.